Welcome to a 10-1-10-1 review. My name is Nessa, and today we're looking at Chef RPG and how I felt after playing the game for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, and 1 year in-game. As a person who does not have a lot of time to play games, I think that first impressions are really important. The first 10 minutes and an hour of a game usually gives you a good idea of what the game has to offer. That being said, I also know that farming, life sim, and cozy games can have slow starts and lengthy tutorials. Some just need extra time to shine, and that's why I think reviewing the game again at 10 hours and a year in-game is also important. How I feel at the hour mark might be completely different than how I feel at 10 hours, and that could change again after playing for a whole year in-game. I won't be rating Chef RPG on a scale, but that will definitely talk about what I like and things I wish it did differently. Also, since Chef RPG is currently in early access, things might change as the game is updated and move towards full release. Just be aware that this review is for version 0.5, so without further ado, let's get into the review. Chef RPG is an adventure RPG simulation game developed and published by Ver0.5 Studio. The early access version was released on September 12, 2024, and currently retails for $19.99. In Chef RPG, you manage up to 2 restaurants by hiring staff, setting your menu, collecting recipes and ingredients by gathering, researching, or buying them in stores, decorating your restaurant, tending to a greenhouse, and befriending and building relationships with the citizens of White Ash Harbor. You are a chef who was called to White Ash Harbor by your mentor who left you his first restaurant, La Segoya. White Ash Harbor used to be a thriving seaside tourist destination, but recently has fallen on hard times, and it's up to you to revitalize the town and raise La Segoya back to its former glory. Your character has their own backstory, which is told to you through flashbacks. The story is separated into different acts, and as of this review, you have access to the first 3 acts of the game. In the first 10 minutes of the game, I was able to customize my character and was introduced to the town of White Ash Harbor. I love the different customization choices, as your character can be a human or an android, and the ability to choose different skill points you want to focus on. Another thing that I really liked about how the game starts was the option to choose which season you start playing in. After customizing my character, I arrived at the train station to meet the first resident of White Ash Harbor named Hazel, the boba shop android with a faulty memory. So far, I really like the look of the town and the pixel art style. I started the game in fall, so the scenery was mainly gold and brown, but the colorful buildings seemed even more colorful because of that. I also appreciated that there were random NPCs walking around town, as well as the core residents. After an hour, I met the residents of White Ash Harbor and finished Hazel's tutorial about cooking and running the restaurant. In the tutorial, I placed my first appliances down in the restaurant, as well as decorated with a simple table and 2 chairs. I stocked my fridge with ingredients and used the computer to hire staff to help me cook and wait tables. You can randomize the selection of potential chefs and waiters by paying some money and choosing whichever one fits your restaurant the best. Each employee has their own hiring costs and salary, as well as their stats, which affect how sociable they are with customers and how quickly they get tired from working. Whenever an employee gets tired, they will take a nap during service, or they might drink coffee and tea once you unlock the ability to create those machines at a later time. Some staff even have additional abilities, such as not getting tired at all, but having a % chance of getting confused. I was also introduced to the Operations mode tab in the menu, where I can change how my restaurant works. Depending on which operation mode you select, you'll have the ability to set a menu to match the operation. For example, a restaurant needs to have 1 appetizer and 1 main course, and this will cause appetizers and main dishes to always be ordered, as well as a 15% increase in earnings from main dishes. Changing the restaurant to confectionery will require at least 4 desserts to be on the menu, as well as a beverage. Fulfilling this will cause 1 to 3 desserts to be ordered by customers, and dessert cook speed will be increased by 20%. After setting the operations and menu, you're able to open the restaurant whenever you want. Customers will come in and order items from the menu, and these orders will show up on an order ticket at the top of your UI. Then either you can get the ingredients from the fridge and start a mini game with the corresponding appliance, or you can just wait and have your chef do it if you've hired one. During the first hour, I was able to play my first 3 cooking minigames. The minigames so far are simple enough, and each new minigame will prompt the tutorial text for the first playthrough. I like that the game allows the player to turn on autocook with the penalty that the autocook will randomly assign a value for the finished dish, so that you can skip the minigames if you want to at a cost. You do have to play the minigame at least once, however, and score enough points to unlock the autocook option for each tier of the recipe that's for a specific minigame. So you would have to beat the minigame on common, rare, epic, and legendary. Very quickly, I found the minigames that I liked and the minigames that I did not care to repeat again. One of the things that I wish were different right off the bat was the ability to choose which minigames to play versus turning them all on or all of them off. Another minigame I was introduced to was the fishing minigame, and I actually was so surprised at the difficulty. I had to go back and look at the tutorial again to see if there was something I was missing about the controls. In my hour of playing, I did not catch a single fish. After finishing the tutorial service with Hazel, she let me go free to gather ingredients. I really like the different ingredients that you can find in the surrounding area. You can harvest them from trees, the bushes, with a scythe. They're just laying on the ground, etc. In addition to harvesting ingredients, I was also introduced to hunting with a bow and arrow. This is a little challenging because the player has to aim and hold down the mouse button to make the target area for the arrows smaller for more precision. In addition, you have to do all this while the animal is charging right at you. So hunting can be a little stressful, I would say. However, this game does a really good job of letting you set what is on your menu, so you do not have to hunt at all if you do not want to. You can also just buy the meat from the shop. During my 1 hour, I was having some issues with the interact button, as when I started playing, the only options were to use the X key or the space bar. The developers did add E to the options later on, which made interaction much easier as I continued playing. However, during my first hour, it was a little difficult for me to get used to the controls, only because I found it hard to shift from moving with WASD to using X or spacebar to interact. I'm really happy that the developers listened to the community after their early access released, and based on their roadmap, key binding should be coming in November of 2024. After 10 hours of playing, I was getting the hang of running my own restaurant. At this point in time, I unlocked more minigames by buying more appliances for the restaurant. I was very familiar with the gameplay loop of gathering and searching the shops for ingredients, setting my menu, and completing service at the restaurant to make money. During this time, I unlocked the mines and was able to collect ores, which were used to make machines and decorations. I even managed to catch fish, although this only happened after I upgraded my fishing rod. All the meanwhile, I was gaining ability points in the 4 different stats: endurance, gathering, cooking, and social, and I was able to unlock a variety of different skills to put in the 4 different skill trees of general, gathering, cooking, and social. Leveling up a stat and having a prerequisite skill can unlock higher level skills, which require more skill point allocation, so the player has to decide which skills they want to invest in, as the level is currently capped at 50 and each stat is capped at 15. The skills really do make a big difference in the game. Depending on which skills you put your points in, you can unlock different buildings such as the greenhouse or research facilities, unlock ways to view important information such as information about your customers and staff, as well as how fast it takes your greenhouse crops to grow, and ways to operate your restaurant such as unlocking higher level staff and being able to throw events. In addition to getting used to the gameplay loop, I made attempts to build relationships with the residents. Increasing your relationship with the townfolk unlock more items in their shops, as well as options to give them gifts and date them. Dating anyone was extremely hard for me, as you need to give them gifts and convince them to go out with you. The residents do not give you many clues to what they like, and it seems like they default to disliking and not wanting any gifts that you offer them. They're actually pretty rude about it when you're just trying to do a nice thing for them. I did end up dating Milo, but only because I found out that he likes receiving clothes that he sells. So it was very convenient for me to buy something from his shop and then gift it back to him. I like the direction they're taking with dating in the game, as on your date, you'll walk around whichever area you've chosen, and your date will talk to you about something important to them. I like the idea as it expands on how a date might progress since you're watching your character and your date walk around. Relationships in this game, however, are still a work in progress, and it is evident to me that the dialogue and character personalities need to be fleshed out a little bit more. I did not think we were close as Milo thought we were when he asked us to go study. I think he took the breakup really well as he continued to be my best friend. However, for the rest of the year, he continued to say the same line every day that I talked to him, so maybe he didn't take it as well as I thought he did. 10 hours in, I wasn't really attached to anyone due to their extreme pickiness with gifts, and I just focused mainly on my restaurant. Not sure if this was supposed to be representative of real life, but I totally felt I was throwing myself in my work since it was a lot more fun than hanging out with anybody in town. After 42 hours, I completed a whole year in-game. I finished all 3 acts of the story and unlocked both restaurants available. I bought a house and upgraded La Sequoia to the maximum size. I decorated the restaurant to get as high of a decor score as possible to increase my restaurant reputation and make customers happier while balancing how it looks. I experienced cooking for multiple events and completed many of the small errands on the bulletin board for random rewards and power cells, which are materials needed to upgrade my house and restaurant. Hosting events is unlocked from a specific social skill, and then those quests will start to appear on the bulletin board randomly. They have specific requirements that you want to pay attention to as you receive more of whatever reward was promised in the bulletin board listing if the event goes well. These requirements might include having a stage for the host to make a speech or having specific decor styles. The event will inform you of how many guests will show up, and it may have a menu requirement as well. I also maxed out the barbecue, vegetarian, and baking research trees, which rewarded me more recipes and the ability to enhance my dishes with another ingredient to make it my own. These research facilities are also unlocked from a specific skill, and Priska from Town Hall is able to build or replace one for you at a small price after you unlock it. Overall, I would say that I am satisfied with how my restaurant turned out, and I think that I did most of what I wanted to do in the 1 year. Here are some things that I liked. Number 1. Even though this game is early access, the developers are really responsive and have released a bunch of patches already. One of such was to add the E button as an option to interact instead of just using X and spacebar. Another being the skill system rework, since players used to gain general EXP, but now it has been split to task-based EXP, where cooking will raise your cooking stat, gathering will raise your gathering stat, and so on. Based on my experiences so far, I am hopeful that many of the bugs that I have encountered while playing will be fixed, and the devs will continue to improve the game. Number 2. I like the minigame variety and the option to play whichever minigame that you like, since the minigames are associated with their own appliance. I personally love the oven minigame and the stovetop minigame, so I try to grab as many of those dishes during dinner service while avoiding the grilling minigame as much as possible by not adding dishes on my menu that have that minigame or just leaving it to my chefs to take those orders instead. Number 3. Since I like the minigames and the variety of dishes and such, I was sure to also like the gameplay loop of running the restaurant. It feels amazing to me to have all my chefs and waiters bustling around, taking care of things, while I helped out wherever I wanted. Dinner service was just super fun to me, and it was a highlight of my day. Number 4. I like the decorations and the ability to decorate your restaurant how you want. There's no specific area that the kitchen has to be, so you can theoretically put it on the opposite corner away from the refrigerator if you want to. It isn't efficient, but the game lets you do it. Number 5. I like the story arc so far, and I'm curious to see how White Ash Harbor develops. I think the relationships in the game and the residents' dialogue are lacking in depth and variety, which makes it really hard for me to actually build an attachment to anyone. However, the story does a good job of creating some of the attachment to White Ash Harbor and its residents, so I am definitely looking forward to more of the story as the arcs are released. Here are some things I wish I knew sooner. Number 1. If you don't mind playing the cooking minigames over and over again, you can get more orders done if you complete them instead of using the auto cook feature. While you are playing the minigames, time slows down for a bit. Although the game is not paused, it's also not at regular speed. When you auto cook, however, the game progresses at regular speed and there is no slowdown. This is useful whenever you have a lot of orders pending and you need some time to clear them out before customers get impatient. Number 2. The farming skill does unlock the greenhouse if you choose it. The skill text is confusing since it says that the greenhouse must be unlocked to learn the skill. However, it does unlock your ability to use the greenhouse when you get it. I think there could have been a different way to make it less confusing because I kept playing the game wondering when I was going to unlock the greenhouse so I could get the skill. After finishing all 3 available arcs, I decided to just get the skill to see what happens, and it just unlocked the greenhouse for me. So I'm not even sure when I could have unlocked it, but it would have been really useful to have it unlocked during winter time when there were no plants to gather in the wilderness. Number 3. Speaking of which, unless you like a challenge, I would not suggest starting the game in fall or winter. Although fall does have a lot of ingredients that you can gather, if you're just starting, your stamina is probably not too high, so you can't really take advantage of that. And then before you know it, winter sets in, and then you have to buy everything from the shops. Since the shops rotate their selection, you might not always be able to get the ingredients you need for a specific recipe. Here's some things I wish were different. Number 1. I am not a big fan of locking buildings behind skill points. I wish that there were alternative ways to unlock the greenhouse or the research facilities without spending skill points to do so. However, my feelings might just be this way because of the current cap on the level, since there's not enough skill points to unlock everything in the skill trees at this point in time. Number 2. I really wish the residents could be a little nicer whenever I give them a gift that they don't like, or maybe give me more hints so I know what they do like. Although I was really proud of myself when I managed to figure out what someone liked, this was usually through luck and not necessarily because they told me. Besides Bianca, who obviously loves alcohol. The developers are going to release the festival and relationship update in the spring of 2025 with deeper romances and seasonal festivals, so I'm hoping that this update will also bring a little bit more gratitude to the residents and also more things for them to talk about generally. Number 3. I wish that closing the restaurant did not take such a long time, or if there was a time you can set for the restaurant to automatically close without suffering the reputation loss for outright kicking everyone out. Ending service usually takes 3 hours for me, which sounds like a ridiculous amount of time to wait for customers to finish eating. This is a really small gripe though, so it's just a wish and not really a need. If anything, I wish that they'd work on the other stuff first, and this could be something on the back burner. Number 4. I also wish that the restaurants were able to operate independently, since after you unlock the second one, it gives reward tickets based on how well the service went, and these reward tickets are used to exchange for better decor that you can put in your restaurant and increase your decor score. Since unlocking the second restaurant, I exclusively focused on it instead of La Segoya until I upgraded that. Since this is an RPG game and not a simulation, I can understand why the restaurants do not run independently of the player character. However, I wish they could share a fridge or something, so I didn't have to go back and forth with stocking 2 fridges if I wanted to play both restaurants interchangeably. Number 5. Lastly, although I do like some of the minigames and appreciate the variety, I wish that they were a little shorter than what they are now. The minigames feel just slightly longer than what they should be to make them enjoyable and repeatable. Since the game does rely on players doing these cooking minigames over and over again during service, I think that having them shorter would encourage more people to play them. I turned on auto cook after a few hours and never looked back until I had to play them to unlock auto cook for a higher recipe tier. So after completing a whole year in-game, I can say that I definitely got my money's worth of Chef RPG at this point, and I'm looking forward to revisiting the game after its full release, hopefully in the summer of 2025. I really enjoyed running my restaurant, and I hope that the additional story arcs to come will give more life to the residents of White Ash Harbor. Chef RPG can be a cozy experience with the option to turn off the cooking minigame and just enjoying running a restaurant however you want. I think the game does a really good job of simulating this process of running a restaurant and really giving you a lot of options and how you want to do it. You can have a confectionery that serves only common desserts if you want, or you can go for legendary dishes served by legendary chefs and waiters. The choice is ultimately up to you, and I like that flexibility and freedom. Well, there you have it. If you think this game is for you, I hope you give it a try. Let me know if you have played Chef RPG already and if you're planning to. If you like what I do, please like and subscribe for more reviews such as this. Thank you for making it to the end. Until next time, I have been Nessa, and this has been a 10-1-10-1.